Now, before I continue, this is the Department of Health and Human Services out of Portsmouth. Now, when I call Rochester, we don't get anything. Now, Portsmouth, I called on 3 separate lines, and there's funny business going on. You'll hear this at the end as the line goes dead as well. Somebody literally hung up the line, and it wasn't me. Not just that, the first 2 calls were different. They got transferred to a different machine in Rochester. This is very suspicious behavior that I'm going to be showing on this video, or you're going to listen to. You're going to hear the phone go dead as soon as I'm speaking, and this is the 3rd phone call. Now, all I'm trying to do is report and pass on video footage, some of the stuff that's been going on. You got elderly and disabled people literally having just landlords come in and beat the shit out of them. You literally got landlords coming in and committing hate speech. You literally got water coming in the windows for 7 years, damaging property. You literally got children, elderly, and adult people getting incredibly sick, losing their jobs, ending up in hospitals. And then they just blame the victims and rent it out to another person to get sick. We are in the worst one of them. We're in the sickest apartment. We have the most water damage. We have the most mold. But second is upstairs, downstairs, and then it moves out of the building. So it depends on how many years you've been here. But now I'm going to have you listen to my report. This is like the 100th report in 6 to 7 years that we have passed on.
Forwarded to voicemail. The person you're trying to reach is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up.
Hi there. I am wishing to report anonymously that 2 individuals have been trying to get help through the Department of Health and Human Services of Rochester. And their reports of abuse and neglect and all their other reports are falling on deaf ears. A landlord has been caught on camera committing a hate crime. He committed hate speech and then threw a disabled man to the ground, kicked him on camera in the ribs, beat the living crap out of him. And what was this man trying to do? Hand him a legal notice on behalf, the notarized legal notice on behalf of an 84-year-old man who's getting abused. This 84-year-old disabled man has had water and mold coming in his apartment since he moved in. He's been trying to report this, trying to get help, because he's had his health affected. He's been pulled out of here in ambulances for years now. Years and years and years. There's been multiple reports going to the Department of Health and Human Services of Rochester, but they have not investigated any of these claims. There are pictures and videos. There are no lights in the hallway. We got old and disabled people slipping, falling, getting hurt. We got water coming into their property. We got them getting sick, not able to breathe. We got heart problems. We got all this going on, and we got video footage of assaults and abuse. The landlord's been allowed to put his hands on disabled people, elderly people for over 8 years now. We have video of this. We have video of the landlord being handed a piece of paper, trying to refuse to hand it, trying to lie like he never got the piece of paper. Then he grabs the person, throws him on the ground, and starts kicking him in his already injured area, right after committing hate speech. These reports have been going into the Department of Health and Human Services of Rochester for about 7 years now, report after report. Now, we have seen no investigation. We have seen nothing whatsoever. The only investigation we've seen is Rochester has investigated the roommate who's the victim. They have literally investigated the victims instead of any of the reports. And see, the line went dead. It didn't even go to a voicemail. Something is going really fishy around here, because that was the Department of Health and Human Services of Rochester. But whenever I dial from my home line, I dial out with my... Yeah, I'll explain that. So, I've been getting messages on all my phone lines that Lumi has permission to alter my phone and do things to it. And Lumi has this permission because Rochester asked for it. They wanted to go into my phone. So, they have permission to mess around with my phone. I'm not sure if they are or not. I'm not technically savvy. But what I can tell you is that whenever I dial to try to pass on any of this information, the phone goes dead. But if I go onto somebody else's phone, this doesn't happen. If I go to another house, this doesn't happen. If I go in person, they're also making false reports. They're also, when there's reports of the landlord acting abusive towards these 2 people, instead they turn that into a report that I'm abusing him. But yet the roommate has said that very clearly,
that he's worried about the landlord, that he's scared about the landlord. Well, no 84-year-old should be scared of his landlord. That's wrong. And these reports need to be able to be reported. But yet, somebody keeps on cutting the lines. So we're going to try again on the record once again. We're going to keep on recording this so everybody can hear what's going on. That was the Department of Health and Human Services of Portsmouth that the line just went mysteriously dead. Now we're going to try this again and again so you can hear it from the beginning to end. Because after listening to it back, you guys did not get to hear them say this was the Department of Health and Human Services. So I'm going to need to show who I'm dialing on the phone. I'm going to show you exactly how we get treated when trying to report stuff like... Oh, I'm sorry, I'm really hurt. I'm really sick after 8 years, plus the landlord just kicked me in the ribs and beat me. We can't use this heater either because of this. Water is just allowed to come in by itself. Just right in down the wall, down there. Now that yellow stuff is my attempt to slow down the water damage. The landlord said he would fix it. He would fix it. For the first 3 years, there was no yellow stuff. There was just gallons of water coming in. Just gallons of water going straight down into the wall. Right into our apartment, damaging our property.